And tonight it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th, and we look forward to it.
And that happening today, the president in Beijing just introducing the state dinner and thanking Xi Jinping for the dinner and for this visit. He spoke at the formal state dinner in Beijing, and he concluded his remarks with a toast, and he invited Xi Jinping and his wife to visit the White House on September 24th. Xi Jinping, meanwhile, said that the U.S. and China should be partners, not rivals. Now, the White House reports the first full day of the bilateral discussions focused on expanding market access for American business in China. They talked about China buying American agricultural products and finishing its commitment of buying soybeans. Xi also expressed interest in buying more U.S. oil, as both countries agreed that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. But Xi said that Taiwan's independence could lead to further conflict with the U.S. if the island nation is not handled properly. Taiwan, the underlying tension here, as Xi Jinping warned President Trump, if, in fact, the relationship and the independence is not handled properly, then it will lead to a dangerous situation. Joining me now is Wisconsin Congressman Bryan Steil. He's the chairman of the House Administration Committee. Mr. Chairman, what is your reaction to all of this?
Well, it's positive that these negotiations are taking place. China only understands positions of strength. And I think in many ways, the United States is entering these negotiations from a position of strength. There's real challenges in the Chinese economy, demographic challenges as well. And making sure that China abides by its trade obligations is absolutely essential. I think for far too long, multiple administrations have failed and looked the other way as China abused trade obligations to the detriment of American workers and American farmers. This is our opportunity to strike the deal with the Chinese and make sure in particular that they're actually abiding by their trade agreements and purchasing, in particular, soybeans from my home state of Wisconsin and other agricultural products across the United States. We're best positioned if China is working as a partner in a peaceful world. That said, China only understands positions of strength, and making sure that China is abiding by their obligations is going to be absolutely essential. I think President Trump's visit is a major step in the right direction in that regard.
Well, I think you make great points, but, you know, the idea that Xi Jinping is bringing up Taiwan, you know, the president is going to this powwow and is at this powwow with all these American CEOs wanting to do deals on business. He wants to walk away with new buys on oil and Boeing jets, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also the Iran war looming, right? I mean, even before he left, I spoke with the president 3 weeks ago, and I asked him about Iran's support and the support that they've gotten from China. Listen to this. Yeah, I want to get your take on China and how this shift in oil, particularly because of Iran, particularly because of Venezuela and what you've done, even your comments on Cuba. How does that change the dynamic of this meeting with President Xi?
I don't think it does. I mean, he's somebody that needs oil. We don't. He's somebody I get along with very well. He just wrote me a beautiful letter.
He wrote you a letter?
Yeah, he did. He responded to a letter that I wrote because I had heard that China is giving weapons to, I mean, you're seeing it all over the place, to Iran, that China's giving weapons.
Did he say he's giving them?
Yeah, and I wrote him a letter asking him not to do that. And he wrote me a letter saying that essentially he's not doing that.
Okay. Well, we just heard from the FBI recently that there was a major cyber attack attributed to China. What response is under consideration for that cyber attack?
We do it to them. They do it to us. We do it to them. You know.
Well, when was the last time we did a cyber attack in China?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you that. But we do them. They do us. It's been like that for a long time.
So it's not going to be addressed?
I'll address things. But, you know, it is what it is. Look.
So, Congressman, how do you see that? I mean, you know, we know the bad behavior of communist China. How do you walk this balance of wanting business and wanting new trade deals, and yet we know that they've been undermining the U.S. from cyber attacks to COVID cover-up to intellectual property thefts, then the rest?
Yeah, there's a real sober reality that China continues to operate as an adversary to the United States of America, and in these negotiations, that has to be front and center. As we think about Iran having a nuclear weapon, we cannot allow that. The oil that flows from Iran, in large part, China is the most dependent on that. The good news is the United States of America has an oversupply of oil in a position where we can export. Now, what we need to do ultimately is open the straits and make sure that the war comes to a final conclusion. That said, by the United States blockading oil to negotiate with Iran, China is in many ways the one that wants to see the straits opened almost more than anyone. And so these negotiations where China can play a role of getting the resolution with the Iranians is positive. But I think the president's broader comments there that China continues to act as an adversary to the United States is an absolutely essential component to keep at the forefront of these negotiations. We don't want to trade relations with China for additional business. We've seen that fail in the past. We need to get China to be actually acting in the world interest and no longer an adversary to the United States.
So I want to get your take on more domestic issues as well, because you and your colleagues have an opportunity here to do 3 reconciliation packages overall when you include the big, beautiful bill. But I know you're putting a focus on advancing this second reconciliation package centered on the skinny bill of just enforcement, immigration enforcement funding. But, you know, you've got some people, at least one lawmaker yesterday told me, Andy Ogles told me, that he doesn't expect a third reconciliation package at all. He's not on board because he doesn't think you're going to be able to get it done in time. I know you got to get it done before the August recess, and House Speaker Mike Johnson is working on a third package before July 23rd to actually get that in there before the recess, to include affordability measures and social program fraud provisions and Iran-related defense spending. What's your take on these packages? What do you see as reality?
Well, over the past year and a half, the United States House of Representatives, with a narrow majority, continues to be underestimated, yet we continue to over-deliver. I think we have an opportunity here to get through Reconciliation 2.0, make sure that we're securing the border despite the Democrats wanting an open border. And then I'm all in on working towards a third reconciliation where we can pass legislation without requiring Democrats in the United States Senate or allowing them to hold it up. Now, that's not as good as passing things without reconciliation, but, man, I'll take one step forward rather if I can get it. And in particular, as it relates to election integrity, the Senate has continually failed to move forward on the Save America Act, essential legislation. But through reconciliation, without Democratic votes, we could make some levels of progress in that regard where it has a budgetary impact. And so we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to push the Senate to move. Failure to do that, though, let's take one step forward if we can, because everything we get done while we control the House, the Senate, and the White House is a step in the right direction for the American people.
Well, I have to agree with you. I mean, what's going on with the Senate? I mean, even John Thune yesterday said, listen, don't talk about Reconciliation 3.0. We're still doing 2.0.
The frustration of the United States Senate, for those of us in the United States House of Representatives, it would be an entire 5-hour segment on your show, Maria.
Wow. Well, we're going to watch all of this. And, of course, we've also got the Clarity Act that is expected to move forward as well. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you. Bryan Steil joining us, and we'll be right back.